Hello and welcome to Millen Bay. When I first arrived in Millen Bay, I arrived by seaplane at Alatau, at Samurai. Alatau didn't even exist in those days. I arrived in Samurai on the water, and I was taken by a little boat onto land. And then after I'd met the sisters and had done a bit of shopping, we got onto the boat, the St. Francis, and headed from Samurai to Sadia. As we were going, I noticed a little man sitting there with a full bag of cement in front of him. One of the sisters who knew him, who said, "Are you building, Joe?" And Joe said, "No, I'm not building, but I'm finishing teaching and I'm going back to my own village." "What's the bag of cement for?" "The bag of cement is for my tombstone." "Oh," Sister said. "Are you sick, Joe? Are you going to die?" "Well, no, I'm not going to die now," said Joe, "but I'm going home to stay and I'm going to die sometime, and when I die, I want to be able to have a tombstone on my grave." And that was the last I saw of Joe for a long time. For 4.5 years I stayed at Dio, and then I moved to another place called Bedoya, and there I met Joe. A really holy man, a catechist, a church leader, a church elder, somebody who is respected by all, whether the same faith or not. Everybody came to Joe when problems cropped up, and Joe was always to be found in the church or in the village. He'd give a sermon on Sunday. He'd talk at benediction. He was such a lovely fellow, and he was great fun. He always had stories to tell of what happened in school and could keep a crowd laughing for ages. He had his children at school in Bedoya. One of them had been brought up as a baby in Sadia. Sadia had a baby centre for orphans, for babies whose mother was sick, and Joe's mother had been very, very sick when he was born, and he'd come to us, and the sisters at Sadia had looked after him for a long time. And when Joe was 3 or 4, mother was well enough to take him. She took him back and they went to Bedoya and joined Joe. And there he went to school. They became teachers. 2 of them at least became teachers. I'm not sure what the others became. There was a good family of them, but I know the 2 teachers because I got involved with them later when I was involved with the administration side of education. So Joe didn't die for a long, long time. His bag of cement sat under the house and got harder and harder. It became a footstool. It became a step. It became a seat to sit on. Joe's bag of cement became very famous. And finally, when Joe did die, everybody from round about came for his funeral. People even came in boats and canoes for Joe's funeral. Teachers from all over the place came from Joe's funeral. Joe had taught them, and now they were teaching others. They came to say goodbye to this man who had shown them what a great vocation it was to be a teacher. And Joe was buried behind the church, not in the village cemetery, but where he'd asked to be buried at the small spot behind the church. He was the first one buried there. Later, twins, 2 little Australian brothers, died soon after birth. They were buried there. And then another famous Catholic boat boy. Oh, he took me on many, many boats. He too was buried there. It became a graveyard for very special people. Joe was the first to be buried there, and after a while, he had a tombstone. And that tombstone commemorated who he was and what he was: a father, a teacher, a catechist, a leader, a friend to so many, an exemplar to so many, to teachers, to church leaders. Many had followed Joe in his vocations, the many vocations that he had. There was great sorrow at his death, but great rejoicing too, knowing that Joe had really gone to where he belonged, and at last his bag of cement had been properly used. You make sure your life is taking you to where you should go by helping others. Goodbye and God bless for now.